College football week 8 best bets. In this video, we go through 4 of the biggest games on Saturday. Then we dive into one extra game that we have our eyes on, and we think it's a surefire winner, as well as some player props at the end of the video. If you are new, my name is Austin. I'm joined by Logan. Logan, is good to see you. But we got to address the elephant in the room, man. We have not been great betting college the last few weeks. Both of us went 2-4 last week. You're 500 on the season. I'm 21-20, so not doing a whole lot better. I feel like I've been 3-3, and then last week a 2-4 week just is not going to cut it. We need to be better for you guys. We're going to be locked in for these games. We're going to talk about the 4 of the biggest games. Then we each have an extra pick, 5 total plus some player props. Logan, let's just dive into the games. We'll start with the first one, a big SEC showdown out in Athens, where we have the Georgia Bulldogs playing host to the Ole Miss Rebels. Right now, you're seeing Georgia 7.5-point favorites. The over-under at 53.5. I'm looking at this one, and Logan, it feels like they're trying to get you to bet on Ole Miss based on that big number. Take the higher-ranked team. What are you doing in this game now?
I agree that I think the number does kind of maybe point you towards Ole Miss. I kind of like Georgia, but I like Georgia's team total, and that's what I'm going to isolate here. I'm going to take their team total over 31.5. I think it's a good bet to make. In college football, I think what's killing us the last few weeks, Austin, is we need to isolate some variables. I mean, I got screwed taking Texas's team total, under. If I just would have taken the full game under, it would have been a smarter choice. I tried to get a little too cute there, but in this one, I don't want to try to take Georgia and maybe Ole Miss can backdoor because I know Lane Kiffin has a good offense. But what I know is Lane Kiffin, not an elite defense, and going into this matchup in Athens, I don't really like Ole Miss's defense. Really, they're not great on the ground. 96th in the country in terms of rushing yards per game allowed. They're almost allowing 160 rushing yards per game. And in college football, that really is big because if you can establish the run game, it opens up everything. It opens the play action. And Georgia runs the ball 57% of their plays, averaging almost 5 yards a carry. They'll be ready for this matchup. Especially against an Ole Miss team that's just they're allowing those chunk yardage, and you put yourself in second and third and short. And that's how you sustain those drives, and that's how you pay it off in touchdowns. Speaking of paying it off in touchdowns, Austin, Georgia is one of the best in the country, 10th in the nation in terms of finishing drives in the red zone. They're going to score. They have a lot of weapons down there, especially with the running back room. And Ole Miss's defense, if they don't really create current turnovers for Gunnar Stockton, I just think they get pushed around up front. So give me Georgia's team total over. Love that as my favorite angle in that game.
Yeah, I mean, funny enough that we're both on team totals. I'm not touching the Bulldogs. I'm actually on Ole Miss team total under at 23.5. I think we read this game similar. We think this should be a Bulldogs victory, and probably a one that puts a little more momentum into their season, because obviously coming off that, they had that loss to Alabama a few weeks ago. It's not like they've played a lot of inspired football, but I've liked what I've seen out of the defense. I mean, I was on Auburn plus the points last week. I really feel like that should have covered. They were up 10-3 at halftime, and of course they couldn't score a single point in the second half. But again, goes back to Kirby Smart making some adjustments. I think Chambliss finally runs into a defense that maybe he's not able to. They're able to just scheme and just score a ton of points. So I think this is a really tough spot for them on the road. It's hostile environment here. I just don't think I want to be. I think people are getting too cute with Ole Miss. They're taking them plus the points, sprinkling on the money line. I think this is a game that Kirby Smart gets his team ready to go, and this is one where the defense, while it doesn't have all the big name guys that maybe they've had in years past that are all now playing on Sundays, I think you'll see some big names show up in this game on Saturday. Love Ole Miss team total under. I bet the dogs. I don't really want to just take the 7.5 points though, because there is always a chance that you get backdoored there. I do like the dogs, but I'll take Ole Miss team total under. Our second game, we go to another SEC showdown before we get into some other conferences, as we have Tennessee on the road taking on Alabama. Obviously, rivalry here. Bama, similar to Georgia, 8.5-point favorites. The over-under sitting at 58.5. Logan, this game has my mind in a pretzel. I never know with these two teams what's going to go on. Last year, Tennessee won the game outright. I want to say my dad was at that game as well. What are you feeling here in this the showdown primetime night in Tuscaloosa?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. I mean, the revenge aspect is certainly on Alabama's mind. I took Alabama in a revenge spot against Vanderbilt, laid the points with them. That worked out for me. I'm going to do so again with the Crimson Tide here against Tennessee. I think they're going to, win kind of going away. I see this being a double-digit victory for Alabama, really putting another signature win, on the board for this Alabama team. Alabama's defense has been really great. 17 points per game. That's 15th in the nation in terms of defense. They're one of the best, secondaries as well in college football. They have all sorts of guys, safety position, et cetera, that can just really, shrink the field and make life difficult for Joey Aguilar, trying to make him fit in the ball into tight windows. 5 interceptions for Aguilar. I think that could maybe rear its ugly head on the road in this spot. And Kalen DeBoer's, Alabama team, 3 straight ranked SEC opponents, didn't give up more than 200 passing yards in each of those outings. I mean, I was on Missouri last week plus the points against Alabama. Alabama squeaked it out. They didn't cover, but that was a really, really good Missouri offense. And I would argue this Alabama defense really rose to the occasion in there. They did not allow them to put up like 30 plus points in this one. And then we can talk about Tennessee's defense facing Ty Simpson in this Alabama offense. Bama 14th in the nation in passing yards per game. This Tennessee defense has been abysmal. And that's kind of the Josh Heupel way. You know that going back to his days at UCF. He's not a defensive mind, and it makes sense. 32 points per game, over 400 yards per outing in total defense allowed. I mean, this is just not an elite defense. Bama, 15-game win streak at home. I think they extend that once again against Tennessee. Pay back a little bit of misfortune that happened in Knoxville last year. So give me the Tide. I think they roll.
Yeah, I was leaning towards Tennessee, but I can't bet on Josh Heupel in big games. So I'm just going to go to the over. I'll take the over. I feel like this one looks like at a 50. I think 8.5 is what you're looking at. Seems like a number where people see it. They see SEC, they see Alabama. Like, you know what? I'll take the under there. Next thing you know, it's like 21 at halftime or something stupid like that. Josh Heupel's team they aren't known for playing defense. They've only had one true road game this year. It was at Mississippi State. That game 41-34. And Mississippi State is not a very good offense by any stretch of the imagination. Last week, Ty Simpson, the offense, didn't look, necessarily great against Missouri. Like, he only threw for 200 yards and they ran for 125. So not like a big game explosive wise, but I think this week they get some explosive plays going. And I think they're able to put up points on a Tennessee defense that just is not really inspiring to me. I mean, last week gave up 31 points to Arkansas. They just haven't played. I mean, they gave up 24 to UAB a few weeks ago. I mean, we know Tennessee can score with the best of them. They're going to run fast. They're going to score points. I think Alabama can match them, if not score even more. So I really like the over in this game. I think 58.5, it seems high, but when you see the final score for this game, it's going to cash. And honestly, I need to run it back because last week I had the Missouri and Alabama over, lost by a point. That thing is soaring over this week. Give me the over. Let's move to our third game. Utah taking on BYU. Logan, I looked at this game back and forth. I looked at the total. Don't love it. I'm just going to ride with the Cougars here, man. I think the Cougars are a sleeping dog here, plus 3.5. Already have a loss in their record. I think they can go in there and stay at home and beat this team in the Utah Utes. I mean, Utah just hasn't really inspired me a ton. I feel like they go in, they beat teams, but it's not very convincing fashion. And coming on the road here, taking on BYU, it's not the easiest place to win in. And I just think Utah's going to slip up here. I like it in the field goal. They looked good last week, beating a ranked Arizona State, but again, they were down Sam Levitt and company. They were 9.5-point favorites for that game. I don't really buy a lot of stock into that one. I think that Utah loses this game outright, but I'll take BYU. Take the points. Give me a plus 3.5. I think they got a chance at winning this one outright. Logan, would you like that?
If I were to be on a side, I think I might be with you on BYU, and that kind of almost sounded like a pun, but no, I mean I do like the total in this one though, and I like the over. I mean, you're staying away from it. I understand, but I just want to root for points in Provo. And that's what we get in the Holy War in this matchup between Utah and BYU. Both teams have been great this season and have been involved in some higher scoring games lately. They are 4-0 to the over in their last 4 games combined. If you look at the two teams, 35 and 45 points per game, and that's just that span. So there's just a whole lot of offense between these two teams. And yeah, sometimes on paper, if the over makes sense, it doesn't hit. But in college football, there's a lot more ways that an over can cash, especially with these the offensive talent. We can talk about BYU first. Bear Bachmeier has been great at quarterback for BYU, but he's also has a great running back in LJ Martin, over 650 yards in the season. So he's been stellar. Both teams top 21, in terms of scoring offense, in as well. And we can talk about Utah. I mean, you're not impressed by Utah, but I've been at least impressed by Devin Dampier. I mean, he's been leading a very good campaign for this Utah team, giving them some steadiness at the quarterback position, something they really haven't had. I mean, just thinking back to Cam Rising and all those injuries, like now they finally have stability there. Utah's 8th in the nation in terms of rushing yards. Their identity is simple. They're going to run the ball, and they will run Dampier every now and then as well. And even though both these two teams, kind of are elite in the secondary, I think against the run we see some vulnerability. And when both teams can run, that's where some high scoring affairs can happen, because then you just really put the defense off balance. So I love the over in this one. In the Battle of Utah.
Yeah, I mean, I would maybe run with the over as well. I just don't. Neither of these two teams have really faced anyone good. Like I can admit BYU really hasn't faced a great opponent. Utah's only faced one good team, and that was Texas Tech, and they lost 34-10. So we'll see kind of if BYU's legit or not. They're 6-0. Can they keep that going at home? I think they got a chance. We'll see what they do in that game. I think that game, what is that night, 8 p.m.? We'll take
Mhm.
that. Our final game of the week before we dive into some player props and some other games. We have USC going on the road to take on Notre Dame, going to South Bend. Another big ranked matchup, but another big spread. 9.5 point favorites. Notre Dame fighting Irish. The over under is at 61.5. Logan, I can lead things off here. I think Notre Dame dominates this game. I think they win this one. And the fact that they're 9.5 point favorites, once again, people are going to want to take USC. They're going to want to take the points and stuff like that. Count me out. I think that this is a domination. However, I do think it's a slower starting game for both teams. So I'm taking the first half under at 31.5. I think USC and Lincoln Riley, they struggle at the gate here. I think they struggle a little bit, make some adjustments at halftime, and maybe that's where they score points. I think if I'm really worried about a team putting up points, it's Notre Dame, but I don't see them coming out firing on all cylinders. I think it's a slower game plan, milk the clock kind of case. And I don't know if they need CJ Carr throwing it 3 million times. So I think there's a slower start here. USC maybe struggles, and I don't really want to go full game because full game totals sometimes in CFB are just agonizing. You look good at halftime, you're dead in the second half with some fluke stuff. I'll take the first half under at 31.5. I just don't know if USC contributes a lot to it. So if you want to just take their first half team total under, you can. But Logan, what do you like here?
Yeah, I see your angle. I don't want to necessarily directly fade you, but I think Notre Dame does dominate this game. And while I could take them on the spread, I see that as an angle. I'm just once again going to try my luck with a team total. I'm going to take Notre Dame's team total. 35.5's the line. But again, I don't think the books can set this one high enough, because I do see shootout potential. Again, if that comes in the second half, hopefully it does, at least for your first half under. But I see a lot of points just isolated to Notre Dame, because could I see Notre Dame's defense coming to play? Maybe a little bit, because USC is not the same team on the road. And what I also know is USC's defense really struggles. I mean, that's kind of where a lot of these teams have thrived. USC's 112th in defensive rush efficiency, giving up over 110 yards per game. They also have one of the worst secondaries in the nation. And you mentioned maybe CJ Carr doesn't need to drop back, but I think when he does, he'll be rubbing his hands a little bit, because he's been really good through the air, 300 yards per game. Through the air, that's where Notre Dame's going to get a lot of air yards against a pretty weak USC secondary. And then we can talk about the two-headed monster and Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price. I mean, 15 touchdowns combined between the two, just 2 fumbles. So they have not been really, turning the ball over. Almost 4 yards after first contact. They're hard to bring down. They're going to really challenge that USC team to make good tackles. And in college football, one thing you and I know, they don't like tackling. I mean, the USC is going to have to bring their big boy pants on the road against this Notre Dame team, and I just don't see it really coming. I think Notre Dame's such an efficient team, especially on third down. They're fourth in efficiency, 21st in third down conversions as well. I don't think USC is going to get them off the field. So give me Notre Dame's team total over. I love that as an angle in that game.
Yeah, I mean, I like that. I feel like this one's similar to that Illinois USC game. USC was in that game. They were, 6.5 point favorites. We fell into that trap. But again, they struggled in the first half against Illinois. Only scored 10 points there, then scored 22 in the second half. So, heck, if they want to do that, by all means, I would allow it. Hopefully, Notre Dame puts up a ton of points. But Logan and I each have some individual picks from one or each game. And then I'll dive into some player props. I'll lead things off with one of my favorite picks of the weekend, and it goes to Logan's alma mater. I'm actually going to Florida. I'm taking the Mississippi State and Florida under 51.5. That 51 is a key number, so make sure you get that one, as we saw last week with the Alabama-Missouri game ending on 51. I'll keep this short and simple. I just don't like either of these two offenses, and I think their defenses are average, if not above average. I think Florida's defense has its days in the swamp. That's normally when they show up more than on the road, which is kind of where both these two teams have struggled a little bit offensively. Both teams are actually coming off losses to Texas A&M. Last week, Florida got spanked by them. The week before that, Mississippi State got spanked by them. Again, the Mississippi State coming off a bye here. There should be some energy for their offense to try to get back on track, and especially their defense. And when I just look at a game at 4 p.m. in the swamp, I think it's a lower scoring game. And we look at both these two offenses. This comes down to converting on third down. Florida is one of the worst teams in college football at converting on third downs, 31%. I mean, that is bottom of the barrel. There's like 100, whatever, 30 teams in college. They're in like the bottom 15. And Mississippi State's 42%. So not a whole lot better. These two QBs in Lagway and Chapin, they just miss open throws. And I just don't know if each of these two offenses are going to consistently convert on third downs. And if this under is going to lose, it's probably because you get a bunch of 40-yard touchdowns. I don't see you're going to see a lot of 10-play drives. And if they are 10-play drives, it's a lot of running and not a lot of throwing and stuff like that. So again, I think this total's a tad too high. I think it should be closer to 47-ish and a half. So I'll take the under 51 and a half. I looked at backing Mississippi State on the spread, but I won't do that. Won't fade the Gators. That feels like a very square play this week. Like, why are the Gators 9.5-point favorites? Well, you might find out. They might win this game like 34-10, but I don't think this game is soaring over. Give me the under. But Logan, you also have an under word on the street, and you're going to a program with a new face. Talk about it.
Yeah, well, there's actually some like continuity between Austin and I's pick. Number one, both on unders. Number two, it's both teams with some head coaching uncertainty. I mean, you mentioned Florida. If Billy doesn't have a convincing win in that one, I don't think the Gators really, are going to give him another week. So that's just something to watch for in that homecoming game against Mississippi State, because that's just a big one for the Gators. It's like I got to have it and got to feel good about having it. But as far as my pick, it's going to be an under. And I talk about coach change. Penn State and Iowa under 40.5. I love the under in this one, especially, with Penn State and a little bit of turmoil. I mean, we know they lost James Franklin, fired, get out of town. Penn State fans were happy about that. And they also are down their quarterback, Drew Allar. Now, was Drew particularly explosive in this offense? Not really. But Ethan Grunkemeyer just has 13 career pass attempts. He's the great unknown. And I don't think they're going to ask him to do too much, because they didn't ask Allar to do too much, and they thought of him as like a pro prospect. So it really makes you wonder what it's going to look like with Grunkemeyer and this Penn State offense. What I really think is they're going to be handing off the ball a lot. And when you hand off the ball a lot, hopefully you can have some sustained 2 clock drives, and maybe they don't pay it off with a touchdown. Maybe it results in a field goal in that one. Now they're on the road against a really good defense in Kinnick and Iowa as well. Penn State allowing 18.5 points. Iowa defensively just 13 points. These are both two teams that are allowing under 20 points per game. And if really what you're going to do in an interim coach scenario is know where your offensive talent still is. Down your starting quarterback, where are you going to hand it? Katron Allen, Nick Singleton. It's really that simple. I think that's what the plan of attack is going to be. And Penn State's defense is still 14th in the nation in passing yards allowed. That's not what Iowa's going to try to do, though. They're going to try to run the ball. And I think, when Iowa's going to have the ball, they're going to once again want to play possession as well. I think this is just going to be a good old-fashioned throwback Big Ten battle. 4 of Iowa's last 5 games in Iowa have gone under the total points line. I'll end it with a little trend in there, Austin, but I think the under is just a great play to play in this one. I could see, 17-13 type game, 17, 14, anything in that range. I don't think each of these teams break 20 points themselves. So love the under as my favorite angle in that little Big Ten showdown. But Austin, you mentioned you got props. Go ahead and wrap up the video with those.
Yeah, I love your Penn State under. I mean, I looked at that one, and it's hard not to want to take the fired coach system, but that Ethan guy, man, I don't know what the hell they're getting from him. But let's talk with some player props. We're playing them on Underdog Fantasy. Reminder, if you sign up using code COS, you play $5 to give you $100 in bonus funds. I talked about this last week. If I go 3 of 4 one more time, I'm going to crash out. And what do we do? 3 of 4. And I'm tired of it. So you know what I did? Screw the 4th prop. We're going only 3 this week. Maybe that's the solution. We do 3. We can't miss one if we keep consistently hitting 3. Here are the 3 props I love for this weekend. Again, playing them on Underdog, code COS. Play $5, get $100 in bonus funds. The first one will be Sawyer Robertson. I love him to throw 3 pass touchdowns. This is a line that he's hit consistently this season. I believe if you look at it, he's hit it in 5 of his 6 games. The only miss was actually last week. Now he's had 2 weeks to prepare for this game against TCU. Would you look at that total for that game? 66.5. They're asking for points. I only need 3 touchdowns from Sawyer. I think he gets that done. Then we move to Haynes King of the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Him to score rushing or receiving touchdown. He's done that in every single game this season. Feels like a free square. Maybe it's not, but I think it is. And I don't know if they win against Duke, but I think Haynes King is the kind of like how they use a Cam Newton, if you will. It's like, hey, we just hike it to him. We just say, hey, have fun. And he just bulldozes people. I think he certainly can score a touchdown again. And the final one is Ty Simpson, less than 2.5 pass touchdowns. I didn't necessarily take Tennessee. I do like an over in that game, but I don't know if Ty Simpson's thrown for 3. So maybe this is a little bit of a hedge on my over pick. I swear my overs sometimes maybe aren't free. So we'll see. But I like his less than. He's not necessarily consistently throwing 3. They got some good running backs as well. I'll take that less than 2.5 pass touchdowns. Maybe it's a slight hedge on my over pick. Fine, I'll live with it. If he doesn't, maybe Tennessee runs up the scoreboard. So again, you play those, you can put $20 on that, turns into over 100. Those are our picks. Let's have ourselves a week. If you want to check out a very similar video for the NFL, I'll link it over here on the screen. We go through every single game on Sunday and Monday and give you our favorite pick. And we're doing a little bit better over there than we have been doing in college football as of late. We're turning that around with a 5-0 week for me, 5-0 week for Logan, and we're having ourselves a ball. We'll see you guys back again in the next one. Austin Logan signing out. See you then. Peace.